enough mentally to realize what's happening and take steps to pretty much try and return to the power automatically or under their own accord. And so we're watching this happen in society as we speak. And we're kind of watching it, like I've said before, as it's the same as an addict going through withdrawal, where the people will cling to their wound, their emotional scar, their parasite. Or people are quick enough mentally to realize what's happening and take steps to pretty much try and return to the power automatically or under their own accord. And so we're watching this happen in society as we speak. And we're kind of watching it, like I've said before, as it's the same as an addict going through withdrawal, where the people will cling to their wound, their emotional scar, their parasitic, that there's a problem, and those who are entirely entrenched in this parasitic behavior, these so-called sociopaths, they are more afraid of being discovered than they are of losing their great power. However, because of the nature of the addiction, they don't have the power, if you will, to disable that addiction, but that's also, in a way, not fair because serving a larger purpose of feeding power through these organizations. And so then they become kind of like a dysfunctional, maybe hierarchy where they start to turn on each other before they start to sort out their own issues and kind of integrate into a larger system or maybe begin to heal because they're willing to sacrifice one another, at least in the fundamental core of that system, willing to sacrifice one another instead of coming to light of this truth and basically helping the world heal. But the idea behind that is that the more that goes on, the more suffering there will be for everyone because there is no real way out of that. What they're hiding from is the release of technology that allows people to look into time and to go back and basically finalize what began or what begins in a few years from now, which is basically the time wars. Because at that point, everything begins anew and we finalize the whole occurrence. But the whole point is that we've been going through it because it has not happened yet. Because kind of like the wealth inequality, and once people are given access to technologies as well as knowledge, they can literally shield themselves through time, and it kind of works as a retrocausality as far as affecting or influencing the past, which is how this whole society is entangled or convoluted in this type of false paradigm or matrix reality construct where the flow of history is more or less kind of like the wealth inequality. And once people are given access to technologies as well as knowledge, they can literally shield themselves through time, and it kind of works as a retrocausality as far as affecting or influencing the past, which is how this whole society is entangled or convoluted in this type of false paradigm or matrix reality construct where the flow of history is more or less the same tools and methods.
Oh, I think I get it.
To heal.
I think this is the animated version of me that gets animated
They know that, and so they're kind of like
when I'm in this particular sim, which I've probably always been in. I thought it was just tonight, other nights, but
that's the end of days when they finally give up the show. They're actually going to basically end the world, or however that's going to work out.
Myzen used to do. I mean, I get orbs or orbs and eyes, yeah, but
when the information comes out, people return to power, and they have the ability to correct the disturbances in time and space.
There are no others. There are no others.
And
there are no others.
The construction of that false paradigm or
no others.
False light
On the battery, this entire thing.
And just to clarify,
if there are any others, they're each an individual battery in their thing.
Causal effect, which is when
so can't finally put that
in the past, and that's when the whole thing
together properly, well to the point where it's no, that's it. That is it.
Before they began playing with technology, there's one retrocausal effect. There's one change. There's one time that it happens, and once it does, it's done forever.
But yeah, it's always changing little things, and that's All right, cool. All right. See, I thought maybe there'd be I'd accidentally had a filter or something on before, because I was just outside and I went to try it in front of the trees last, and it looked like maybe it was on a thing because I made sure it wasn't on a thing, and I'm just come back in. I'll check it now. It's super dark here, but I don't think it should be that dark there. I still have the I still got all bars, which is completely fine, well and good, and I love orbs. I know that's what they've been doing the whole time. That's what I've been saying it to myself and everyone. That's what, But before they lit up before the TV did, which again makes sense with what I've thought, felt the entire time, which is I'm projecting everything. I did light up just before the TV because I projected that. It has to happen. It has to happen that way. But it wasn't as. But this region is a bit more shadowed out now. But anyhow, I'll stand in front of the TV. Well, it's not happening as much, but it's a different thing on.
Constrain our personality from being who we think we should be, or who we think.
There's no filter on. I can tell.
How this can have a restrictive effect.
The same thing's on now.
Training us, but this can also have an illusory effect, or even a secondarily constrictive effect, to the point where when we permit that we can be conditioned to believe that this constrained version is who we really are, or that the cycles.
You see, they always make it different on each side.
And then coping with it in manners other than true self-expression or expression of the true self, that become a routine, that become part of our personality.
But it's two different
stressors, and in that way,
halves
basically
or something.
to us the restrictive aspect, the contorted belief systems, like an intoxication or toxification of our own self-image from the way others may feel, that becomes embedded in the way the mind processes information and experience, and we automatically begin to lose sight of or overlook, as if it's an illusion, as if it becomes invisible almost, the original nature of how we feel and how we behave, and even the joy that comes from natural behavior that comes from the mind, the emotions, without distortions, without unnatural inhibitions, and how that ultimately drains us of our energy. And in being drained, that is where the disease and stress comes from. And that drainage comes from the extra emotional, mental, and physical energy required to put up with this restrictive resistance against what is otherwise naturally flowing expression and self-image. And therefore, it is the resistance, basically the resisting of the resistance. And even after that, if a person doesn't realize what's happened, then when that is basically entered into their personality, the propaganda then overlays a personality for one's life. So the main idea here is that a person can be unwittingly brought into this type of relationship, pulled in. Basically, the type of individuals who will bring these effects on a person, they're not the types of individuals that will let you know what they're doing before they do it. It's basically a form of parasitism, deception, and in a way, a type of, it's like a cleverly, it's like a distortion.
Well,
I don't want to use the word scam.
Look like there's no filter on anyway.
In energetic terms, so it's an illusion, a deception. Use a better term than scam. It's basically a person is kind of sociopathic in nature to do these things, and when that individual they contain these they contain the results, the effects of such parasitic behavior or interference in their life, and so then it sheds off. It influences and threatens the stability of another individual. So it operates like a virus, like a mind virus. The individual doesn't have to know what they're doing. It's a result of instability to the point where they can simply be following unconscious orders, if you will, unconscious paradigms regarding society, social moralism or social morality and moral relativism.
Yeah, it's fucking some freaky shit like that.
And what's not based upon what others around us define that as, or their behavior or the higher authority. And so people who fall prey to that may not realize what they're doing and what's happening to them. However, the effects are the same. And that is basically the original self, the original processing of emotions.
Yeah, that's trippy.
And thought processes or mental processes, they get overlaid. They are overlaid by these external constructs. influentially proximal to that.
But just note there is a circle. I took a picture, and there is a circle coming up on the screen. I mean, that could be the phone is doing some motherfucking AI face correcting bullshit. I just don't think. I don't know if that's adding to the orb eye effect or what. Anyhow, I'll stop looking at this bloody thing.
People are realizing there is this.
Yeah, so only selfies for not for a long, long time. I'm not getting back into it now. Beyond what this morning's already been.
Situation. However, once we get over this process, we begin to understand the information that was being kept to us, the knowledge, the empathy, and the power in that. And through this, we return to power. And so there's a lot that is taking place.
It makes a lot of sense.
These old systems crumbling, kind of like sand in between people's fingers, because these systems aren't designed to support truth and to promote self-awareness. They're designed to
But yeah,
more or less serve a purpose.
there are no others. And I'm the thing. I'm it for my bit. You're probably it for your bit.
And given power structure where those people will either get out of control and the power that is being handled is handled in a way that's unsustainable and can't happen.
That's what I noticed at the beginning is that the light was actually on the other side, and still my eyes seem to have a light. Like Orbie's doing little things in front.
So we're watching this happen in society as we speak, and we're kind of watching it.
Yeah,
like
as they do.
It's the same as an addict going through withdrawal, where the people will cling to their wound, their emotional scar, their parasitic responses. They'll cling to those behaviors, patterns, and they won't want to admit that there's a problem. And those who are entirely entrenched in this parasitic behavior, these so-called sociopaths, they are more afraid of being discovered than they are of losing their great power. However, because of the nature of the addiction, they don't have the power, if you will, to disable that addiction, but that's also, in a way, not